Do not try any of the experiments you are about to see at home.
You heard him. Don't do it.
On this groundbreaking episode of MythBusters,
Oh man, someone here didn't flush.
Adam and Jamie get down and dirty
Whoa, gross.
as they tackle two viewer tales about toilets. First, there's hot air, as the guys try to solve a classic hand-drying dilemma.
I do this in every airport I get to.
Then they flush out which communal cubicle is the most contaminated.
Oh, this is nasty.
Meanwhile, Grant, Carrie, and Tori
That's an earthquake coming.
drop, cover, and hold as they find out if, during the shake of a quake,
This is terrifying!
the best survival solution is to dive for the doorway.
Can the MythBusters break down the house, or can they break down the house?
Who are the MythBusters? Adam Savage
That's science.
and Jamie Heineman.
I'm ready.
Between them, more than 30 years of special effects experience. Together with Grant Imahara, Carrie Byron,
Always makes you feel dangerous.
and Tori Belleci.
There's something you don't see every day.
They don't just tell the myths, they put them to the test. First up, it's time to get down and dirty.
Hey man, sorry about that.
I won't ask what kept you.
Yeah, call of nature. But get this, while I was sitting there, I was thinking of a couple of toilet stories that we could test.
Seriously?
Yeah, the first one involves those blow dryer jet dryers in public restrooms that are supposed to be super sanitary.
Yeah.
There's a myth going around that they are in fact less sanitary than a regular old paper towel.
Huh.
The second one involves testing which stall in a public restroom is in fact the cleanest.
Great. We get to spend time in a public restroom. Do you mind if we start with a hand dryer first?
Not at all.
There are over 12 million hand dryers in the U.S. alone. So can they really be a hygiene horror show? Well, the theory to this myth is twofold. First, dryers supposedly purge fewer pathogens than their paper counterparts. And second, they can also fan a fog of microbe miasma that's a contamination catastrophe. But will this myth be hot air?
This story doesn't make any sense to me.
How so?
Well, if you're drying your hands, that implies that you've washed them.
Absolutely.
And if you've washed your hands, you've removed all the bacteria. So whether a drying method is cleaner than another is irrelevant.
Right, I see your point, but only some people use the full soap and water for washing their hands. Some people, they just get their hands wet before drying them off. Why don't we test both of those and see which is the proper worst case scenario for testing hand towel versus dryer?
Okay, that works.
So how do people wash their hands? Well, to my way of thinking, there are three things people do in a restroom regarding washing their hands. The first is they pretend to wash their hands. The second thing people do is get their hands wet, but use no soap. The third thing people do, and the thing we all know you should do, is wash their hands with soap. So first things first, Jamie and I are going to wash our hands using each of those techniques and compare the bacterial loads to see if Jamie is in fact right. Does washing your hands in soap and water leave them completely clean?
And first to go is Adam, who after each cleaning custom hands over to the Heineman.
I'm swabbing Adam's hands with a soy-based growth medium. So if there's any bacteria on his hands, I'm going to find it.
Once Jamie's also swabbed for science, it's time for some germination.
Okay, Adam first. The process is pretty simple. We've collected our samples. We've spread them evenly across soy agar in a petri dish, and we've put them in an incubator. We're going to let them sit there overnight. We'll come in the morning and see what we've got.
And sure enough, 24 hours later,
Let's see what kind of surprise we have.
All right, well, the soap wash,
Nada.
frickin' nothing.
yep, the soap plate's great, which cannot be said of the water wash.
how come your bacteria are bigger than mine?
Sometimes that's just the way it works.
And as for the no wash,
Whoa, gross. So the whole reason we were doing this test is because Jamie suggested if you wash your hands with soap and water and it eliminates all bacteria, who cares about the drying method? There's no bacteria to be more or less clean with. And it turns out he's right. Look at that. Washing our hands with soap and water yielded no bacteria that we could find on this Petri dish. But when we only pretended to wash our hands, when we rinsed them in water but used no soap, check out what we found. So this is the method that we are going to use to test the cleanliness of air dryers versus paper towels.
and the first task for that test is to rustle a restroom.
We're here to test whether air-powered hand dryers spread germs around a bathroom more than paper towels do. And so, of course, to test that, we need a bathroom. One bathroom coming up.
It's all hands on deck as the guys set up an experimental setup.
We call this hiding the crime, see? Ugly seam, pretty seam. It's just that easy.
With a sink,
Perfect.
and a room divider, a blow dryer, and a towel dispenser,
It works.
their banged up bathrooms ready to lend this myth a hand.
Yeah, that was the last paper towel. And it looks like you're gonna have to get some more. Those hands look pretty wet. I don't want to tell your business, but that was the last paper towel, yeah. How you doing?
Next up, a myth that's shaken, not stirred.
Okay, so I've got a myth that's ready to rumble.
All right, what is it?
The myth is that the best place to be in an earthquake when it hits your house is in the doorway.
Yeah, that's what they've been telling us since we were kids. But I mean, isn't the new technique to get under something and hang on?
True, that is the current advice, but some fans still believe the doorway is the best place to be, and that is what they want us to put to the test.
All right, sounds like it's time to shake for science. No, not that kind of shake.
Oh,
That's what I'm talking about.
There's no doubt that earthquakes can literally rock your world.
Oh my God, we're having an earthquake. Wait a minute. Hold on.
But when the earth moves, should you really dive for the doorway, or will this myth be at fault?
All right, so I love this story, but I foresee a couple of problems.
Okay, like what?
Well, first of all, doesn't the answer depend on the type of house you're in, how it was constructed, how old it is?
True, so why don't we test this on a couple of different kinds of homes? First, a newer, sort of wooden-style house, and then maybe an older masonry one.
Okay, fair enough. But then there's a second problem. We can't just sit around waiting for an earthquake to happen.
Well, what we could do is find one of those giant shake tables and see if they'd let us borrow it.
You know what? I know just the place.
Now, we are testing the myth that during an earthquake, it is best to stand in a door jamb in a building. Now, ever since I was a kid growing up in California, that is what they told us. But I don't know if that's true. So we are here at the California Academy of Sciences, and they are going to let us use their earthquake shake table so we can get to the bottom of this myth. Let's hope we don't break it.
Yeah, breaking this museum masterpiece would be bad news. So first, the guys go in for a trial tremor.
All right, you guys ready for an earthquake? Oh my God!
Look at the lamp! Ah! I want out of here! This is terrifying!
Thanks to a battery of air bladders, the shake table can simulate San Francisco's 1906 nightmare. The 15th most energetic earthquake in U.S. history. But given its engineering excellence,
Save the bobbleheads!
are they really going to let the MythBusters meddle with it?
Holy moly! We're all gonna die!
Well, since you already have a shake table, we were talking about making a brick and mortar style building as well as a wood structure building. Do you think maybe we could just use yours and shake them till they fall down?
Well, it sounds like a great idea, but this is actually a working museum, so maybe you have to build your own or something.
Okay. So how does your shake table imitate the forces of an earthquake?
Well, we don't do the Z plane, which is up and down. We actually do the X and the Y direction, and we do that movement because that's the strongest motion in an earthquake.
All right, well, thank you very much for all the information. I
thank
think we
you.
got a lot of building to do.
That's great.
So we have visited the California Academy of Sciences earthquake table, and it is awesome.
We're all gonna die!
And basically, we're going to copy it, but make it our own MythBusters style. The first step with that is to build a model. And that is with all of these cylinders are going to be pushing and pulling just to see what we're getting ourselves into.
With a build as mind-boggling as this,
Look, I know it looks like a mess right now, but it's totally going to make sense in a minute.
Grant's starting with a proof of concept. And if this 2x2 model shakes,
Perfect.
rattles, and rolls, the guys will cue the heavy metal as they attempt to build its way bigger brother.
It's a fine adjustment tool. So our earthquake shake table concept model is complete. Now what this is a load-bearing platform supported by casters. It's got actuators in the X and Y direction to shake it. What we're interested in is what happens to the house after it's been collapsed when subjected to earthquake magnitude forces. Kind of like this. I'd call that about a 10.
There's no doubt that they're shrimp shakers the business. But next, it's time to build the beast.
Coming up next on MythBusters, where's the safest place to be in an earthquake?
Is it a doorway or someplace else?
I say someplace else. Maybe Arizona.
Can the humble hand dryer really create a pathogen paradise, or is this myth bathroom baloney? To find out, the MythBusters have rustled up the recipe.
I do this in every airport I get to. Ah, yeah.
And it's almost time to get cooking.
The myth is that drying your hands with an air blower is less sanitary than using a paper towel. In order to test this, we'll be putting a bacterial marker on the hands of each of our 16 volunteers and then swabbing them both before and after they use each of these devices. If the myth is true, we should see far more bacteria on their hands after air drying than after using the paper towel.
With the volunteers to hand, next Jamie's special brew can be uncorked.
This is a culture of E. coli bacteria. Now, E. coli can sometimes be harmful, but this particular strain was designed by a lab and it's completely harmless. Okay. All our participants will be immersing their hands in this stuff, and it'll create a consistent bacterial load for all our testing.
It's all hands to the pump.
Now, flip them.
As Jamie applies the same amount in the same way to get the same bacterial load.
Excellent.
And with that, the mother of all washing wipeouts can begin.
All right, first person, please.
Volunteer 1 steps up to get swabbed.
Thank you.
Then washed.
1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000.
Then swabbed again.
Left hand again, if you would, sir.
Next, he heads for some towel traction, which is followed by one last swab.
Science.
Next.
And so the pattern repeats.
Thank you very much.
As all 16 volunteers get sampled before washing.
Excellent.
After washing.
Thank you.
And after towel drying.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
To say it's a little repetitive is an understatement.
Thank you. Excellent. Thank you.
But to really see a pathogen pattern, a solid sample is essential.
48 pieces of data down.
Nice work.
Thank you.
With 48 swabs, the guys are exactly halfway through. So it's onwards and upwards.
Here we go again.
With the bacterial load reloaded, the entire swab mob hits the washroom once more.
Very strange. Our test subject group seems to have developed its own ritual.
Like last time,
Next.
the volunteers swab, wash, and swab. Before, this time, turning blue with the hand dryer. But will this different drying device really let microbes make hay?
Number 16. There it is.
Well, with the final test finally done, the guys have a hunch.
You know, I am noticing something sort of Interesting.
I'm wondering if it's the same thing that I've been noticing.
Well, I'm smelling the odor of the growth medium a lot more now because the air dryer's aerosolizing the stuff, I think. And I didn't smell it before with the paper towels.
I'll tell you what I've been noticing. I notice a lot more wet hands. See, it takes longer to dry your hands with the air dryer, but people aren't taking that extra time.